This video did not arrive in your life by accident. Something in you was already searching for this message before your eyes ever found the title. And if you are here right now, listening to these words, there is a part of you that knows this moment is not ordinary. Maybe you cannot explain it logically. Maybe you only felt a pull, a quiet curiosity, a subtle inner pressure that said, "Stay. Listen. There is something here for you." And that is enough. Because sometimes expansion does not begin with a dramatic sign. Sometimes it begins with a whisper, a pause, a video, a sentence that reaches you at exactly the right moment. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. Let that phrase enter slowly, because by the end of this message, you may understand it in a different way. Soon, you will see why certain delays in your life were not punishments. Later, you will discover why the version of you that feels tired, uncertain, or out of place may actually be standing at the threshold of something greater. And before this message ends, you will be invited to recognize a part of yourself that has been waiting beneath the noise. Not everyone reaches a message like this in the same state. Some arrive broken open. Some arrive curious. Some arrive exhausted from pretending that everything is fine. Some arrive because life has become too small for the size of what they feel inside. If that is you, breathe. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling that something more exists. There is nothing wrong with you for sensing that your current life does not fully match your inner world. There is nothing wrong with you for wanting meaning, depth, peace, direction, and a connection that feels larger than routine. Many people move through life trying to silence that inner call, but those who are ready begin to hear it more clearly. If you want to stay connected to this frequency, subscribe now, not as a simple click, but as a small, energetic commitment to the part of you that is choosing to awaken, grow, and remember. Let it be a signal to yourself that you are no longer ignoring the messages that find you, because this one found you. And now, the question is not whether the message arrived. The question is whether you are willing to receive it. There are two ways to live through a moment like this. One path is familiar. You can keep moving as before, dismiss the feeling, return to the old rhythm, and tell yourself that nothing important happened here. That path is known, comfortable, and predictable. It asks nothing from you, but it also gives you nothing new. The other path is quieter, but far more alive. It asks you to pause, to listen, to consider the possibility that your inner discomfort is not random, that your longing is not weakness, and that your desire for expansion may be the first signal of a new phase beginning. This is the double door. One door keeps you in the old interpretation of yourself. The other opens toward the possibility that you are not lost, but being redirected. You may have noticed it already. Certain conversations no longer feed you. Certain habits feel heavier than before. Certain dreams return at strange times. Certain people seem distant, not because they are wrong, but because your energy is beginning to ask for a different space. And when this happens, the mind often calls it confusion. But the soul, if we use that word as a symbol for your deeper knowing, may call it expansion. This is why the title found you today, not yesterday, not in some distant future when everything feels perfect. Today, in this exact season, with these exact questions, inside this exact version of you that is still becoming. If this resonates, press like now as a way of anchoring the recognition. Not because a button has mystical power, but because small, intentional actions can remind the mind, I am present, I am listening, I am choosing to notice what matters. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. You may have been taught that expansion means getting more, doing more, achieving more, becoming louder, stronger, faster, and more visible. But there is another perspective, one that has appeared in different spiritual and philosophical traditions across time. Expansion is not always addition. Sometimes expansion is removal. Removal of the identity that was built only to survive. Removal of the fear that made you shrink. Removal of the old agreement that said you had to betray yourself in order to be accepted. And this is where the first revelation begins. The reason you feel restless may not be because your life is falling apart. It may be because the old shape of your life is too small for your next level of awareness. Let this settle. Many people interpret inner tension as a sign that something is wrong. But sometimes tension appears when a seed begins pressing against the shell. The shell was once protection. It held the seed together. It gave form. It created safety. But if the seed mistakes the shell for home forever, it never becomes what it was designed to become. You have had shells too. The shell of pleasing everyone. The shell of waiting for permission. The shell of saying, "I'm fine," when something inside you wanted to say, "I need more truth." The shell of believing that your past defines the size of your future. The shell of staying small because being seen once felt unsafe. And now something in you is pressing. Not violently, not desperately, but steadily. This is why this message may feel personal. It is not because anyone can know every detail of your life. It is because certain inner thresholds feel universal. There comes a point when the old self cannot carry the next chapter without cracking. There comes a point when the mind says, "Stay where it is safe," while the deeper self says, "Move where it is true." Soon, you will understand the 3 signs that expansion has already begun. But before that, notice something simple. You are still here. You did not leave after the first few sentences. A part of you is listening beyond entertainment. A part of you is collecting a message. And that matters. The first sign that expansion has begun is discomfort with what once felt normal. This does not mean you must reject your life, your people, or your responsibilities. It means you are beginning to feel the difference between what is familiar and what is aligned. Familiar is not always aligned. Sometimes familiar is simply repeated. You may notice that certain environments drain you more quickly. You may notice that gossip, conflict, comparison, or shallow conversations no longer feel harmless. You may notice that silence starts to feel more nourishing than noise. You may even feel lonely for a while, not because you are abandoned, but because your inner world is reorganizing. This is a delicate stage. Be gentle with it. The second sign is that your intuition becomes harder to ignore. Again, not as a supernatural command, not as a guaranteed message from beyond, but as a deeper pattern of inner knowing. You begin to sense what expands you and what contracts you. You begin to feel when your yes is real and when your yes is just fear wearing a polite mask. Have you felt that? Have you agreed while your body tightened? Have you smiled while your inner voice whispered no? Have you stayed in places where your energy quietly disappeared? These questions are not here to blame you. They are here to bring you back. The third sign is that you start desiring a life that matches your inner truth, not just your external image. This is where expansion becomes powerful. You no longer want to look awakened. You want to live awake. You no longer want to perform peace. You want to feel moments of peace more honestly. You no longer want to chase every version of success that was handed to you. You want to ask, What actually belongs to me? Write this in the comments if it feels true. My expansion begins here. Writing it may help you mark the moment. It gives your mind a phrase, your heart a signal, and your future self a point of reference. My expansion begins here. There is a subtle urgency in this message, but not the kind that frightens you. It is the urgency of a door that opens when you become ready to notice it. Life will not punish you for pausing, but if you continually ignore your inner call, you may keep repeating patterns that were meant to teach you once, not define you forever. The opportunity is here because your awareness is here. The control returns when you choose one conscious action, one breath before reacting, one honest no, one brave yes, one moment of stillness before falling back into the old story. This is how expansion begins, not as a fantasy, but as a relationship with your own attention. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. Now breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, and release. You do not have to force a transformation while listening. You do not have to become a new person in one instant. Many people find that inner practices are most meaningful when they are approached gently, without pressure, without expectation, without turning growth into another performance. So for a moment, simply listen and allow. There is an old idea, found in many contemplative traditions, that the outer world can become a mirror for the inner world. Not in a simplistic way, not as a claim that every event is caused by your thoughts, but as a reflective practice, a way to ask, what is life showing me about what I believe, what I fear, what I desire, and what I am ready to release? This perspective is not usually shared with enough nuance. Some reduce it to control, some turn it into pressure. But the deeper invitation is not to blame yourself for your reality. The deeper invitation is to become more intimate with your participation in your own life. That is different. You are not being asked to control everything. You are being invited to become conscious. And consciousness changes the way you walk through a room. It changes the way you answer a message. It changes the way you choose your thoughts after disappointment. It changes the way you interpret delays. It changes the way you speak to yourself when no one is listening. If this insight lands, press like as a way of sealing it. You are not here to control everything. You are here to become conscious of how you meet everything. That is expansion. And now we go deeper. The fourth sign, the one many people miss, is the strange return of old memories, old dreams, old desires, and old versions of you that you thought you had buried. When expansion begins, the past may rise. Not always because you need to go back, but because something unfinished wants to be understood differently. Maybe a childhood dream returns. Maybe a creative impulse comes back. Maybe you remember how sensitive you were before the world taught you to hide it. Maybe you feel a grief you never fully gave yourself permission to feel. If this happens, you are not moving backward. You may be reclaiming fragments of yourself that were left at different points in your story. The expanded self is not built by rejecting the past. It is often built by gathering what was abandoned, listening to what was silenced, and choosing what still carries life. Take that in. You are not only becoming someone new, you may also be remembering who you were before fear edited you. This is why the archetype of the chosen one appears here, but not in an arrogant way. Being chosen does not mean being above others. It means being chosen by your own awakening, chosen by your own readiness, chosen by the moment when excuses no longer satisfy the deeper hunger of your spirit. Not everyone will understand your expansion while it is happening. Some may call it distance. some may call it change. Some may call it too much. But those who are meant to walk with the next version of you will not require you to shrink in order to belong. Share this message with someone who has been feeling the same quiet pull, someone who may not have words for what is happening inside them. Sometimes sharing is not about convincing anyone. It is simply placing a light where another person might need one. Now, before the next revelation, let us enter the first deeper pause. If it feels safe and comfortable, soften your shoulders. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands rest. Breathe in through the nose if you can, slowly, as if you are not trying to get anywhere. And breathe out as if the day can wait for a few seconds. Feel the space around your body. Feel the weight of yourself being held by wherever you are. Feel the quiet part of you that does not need to explain, perform, defend, or prove. Breathe. Allow. Observe. Receive. Let the sentence move through you. I do not have to force expansion. I can allow myself to become available to it. There may be thoughts. Let them pass. There may be emotions. Let them move. There may be resistance. Let it soften without fighting it. Because sometimes resistance is only a protector that has not yet learned the new environment is safer than the old one. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. If this moment brought even a small sense of calm, press like as an anchor. Let it remind you that you can return to your breath, your center, and your awareness without needing the world to be perfect first. Now listen carefully, because this is the part where the message turns. You may have believed that expansion begins when you finally become ready, healed, disciplined, confident, and completely certain. But what if expansion begins before certainty? What if the door opens while your voice still shakes? What if the next version of you does not wait for fear to disappear, but learns to walk with fear differently? This is a major revelation. The reason you have not moved may not be lack of potential. It may be loyalty to an outdated identity. An identity that says, I am the one who always waits. I am the one who almost starts. I am the one who needs a sign. I am the one who is not ready yet. But today, a new identity begins to appear. Not fully complete, not fully embodied, but visible enough to follow. The one who listens, the one who notices, the one who chooses alignment over repetition, the one who understands that expansion is not a distant achievement, but a present relationship with possibility. This is the beginning of the controlled identity cycle. The old self is not your enemy. It carried you. It protected you. It found ways to survive seasons you may not even speak about. But the old self cannot be the only authority forever. At some point, the survivor must meet the creator. At some point, the guarded one must meet the open one. At some point, the one who waited must meet the one who begins. And this is not complete today. That is important. This message opens a door, but your journey continues beyond it. There will be more to understand, more to practice, more to integrate, more to release. But the first step is powerful because it changes the direction of your attention. Write this in the comments. I choose the expanded version of me. Do not write it as a guarantee. Write it as a declaration of willingness. Write it as a small ceremony. Write it so that when you see your own words, something in you remembers this moment. I choose the expanded version of me. Now we enter the second trance moment. Imagine gently that you are standing before a doorway made of light. Not a literal place you must believe in, but a symbol of choice. Behind you is the familiar room of old patterns. In front of you is a space you cannot fully see yet. The mind wants the full map. The soul, the deeper self, the intuitive center, often asks for one step. So breathe in. See the doorway. Breathe out. Feel your feet. Breathe in. Notice what part of you wants to move forward. Breathe out. Notice what part of you is afraid. And instead of rejecting the afraid part, speak inwardly with kindness. You can come with me, but you cannot lead me anymore. Let this settle. You are not abandoning yourself. You are reorganizing who gets to guide you. This is where many people misunderstand awakening. They think awakening means leaving humanity behind, becoming untouched, always peaceful, always certain, always luminous. But a more grounded view is this. Awakening may mean becoming more honest, more present, more compassionate, and more willing to live without constantly betraying your inner truth. It is not escape. It is intimacy with life. It is the courage to feel without drowning, to desire without grasping, to rest without guilt, and to grow without hating who you have been. And now the main revelation arrives. This video found you for a reason, not because the universe is forcing you into a destiny you cannot choose, but because your attention is beginning to cooperate with your expansion. Out of countless messages, you stopped here. Out of countless distractions, something in you remained. Out of countless versions of the day, this one included a moment of recognition. That matters. The reason is not outside you alone. The reason is also inside you. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. There are those who wait for a sign so obvious that they never have to trust themselves. And there are those who learn to recognize the quiet sign that appears as resonance, a phrase, a feeling, a sudden knowing, a question that will not leave, a sense that says, "This is not everything I came here to experience." You are beginning to become one of those people. Not someone who blindly believes everything, not someone who gives power away to every message, but someone who listens deeply, tests gently, observes honestly, and chooses consciously. That is a mature expansion. That is sacred empowerment. That is the beginning of inner authority. And when inner authority awakens, the world may not change instantly, but your relationship with the world begins to shift. You may pause before reacting. You may stop chasing people who only respond to your absence. You may stop negotiating with environments that require your disconnection. You may start honoring your energy, your time, your body, your creative fire, and your need for silence. Small changes, deep consequences. You do not need to announce your expansion to everyone. In many cases, the most powerful transformations begin quietly. You drink more water. You breathe before answering. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You return to a practice. You write one honest page. You clean one corner of your space. You choose one nourishing thought when the old mind offers a familiar wound. This is how the field changes around you, not through force, but through participation. And if we speak of the quantum here, let it be with humility and metaphor. In science, the quantum world points to mystery, possibility, observation, and relationships at scales far beyond ordinary perception. In inner life, many people use quantum as a symbol for sudden shifts in perspective, subtle changes in attention, and the way one new choice can open many new pathways. Not proof of magic, a language of possibility, and possibility is enough to begin. Now place one hand over your heart if that feels comfortable. If not, simply bring awareness to the center of your chest. Breathe, feel, notice. allow, receive. Ask yourself quietly, what am I resisting that is asking to become movement? Do not force an answer. Let the question echo. What am I resisting that is asking to become movement? Maybe it is a conversation. Maybe it is rest. Maybe it is forgiveness, not as approval of what happened, but as a gradual release of the grip it still has on your inner space. Maybe it is creativity. Maybe it is discipline. Maybe it is leaving behind the version of you that could only survive by staying small. Whatever arises, meet it gently. You do not need to solve your life in this moment. You only need to stop abandoning the part of you that is ready to grow. This is your somatic integration. Your body may not speak in sentences, but it often speaks through contraction, warmth, openness, heaviness, relief, or tears. If you feel something, let it be information, not a problem. Take a moment. Let this settle. You are here, you are listening, you are becoming available. If this message is resonating in your body, press like as the final anchor of this state. Let it be a simple sign that you are choosing presence over autopilot. Now we bring everything into the ground of daily life. Expansion is not only a feeling during a video. It becomes real through repetition, through attention, through small choices that honor the direction of your becoming. So after this message, do one thing differently. Not 10. Not a dramatic reinvention. One thing. Choose one aligned action. Write the message. Take the walk. Clear the space. Begin the prayer, the meditation, the journal, the project, the boundary, the honest conversation, the quiet evening. One action tells the nervous system, we are safe enough to begin. One action tells the mind, the old loop is not the only option. One action tells the future, I am participating. There are perspectives that have carried this kind of wisdom for centuries. The idea that attention is sacred, that words shape inner reality, that ritual gives form to intention, and that a human life becomes more meaningful when it is lived consciously. These perspectives are not here as rigid proof. They are invitations. They are mirrors. They are doors. And today, one of those doors opened through this message. Your expansion begins where resistance ends. Remember what you received here. You saw that discomfort can be a threshold. You saw that intuition can become a compass. You saw that the past may return to be integrated, not repeated. You saw that the old identity is not evil, only limited. You saw that the expanded self does not arrive all at once, but begins through awareness, breath, choice, and aligned action. This is enough for today, but it is not the end. In the next part of your journey, you may be ready to go deeper into the signs that your old reality is losing power, the subtle ways your energy changes before your outer life changes, and the practices that can help you remain centered while expansion unfolds. If you want to continue walking this path, subscribe now and stay close to this frequency. And before you leave, write one final phrase in the comments. I am available for my expansion. Let it be simple. Let it be honest. Let it be yours. Share this video with someone who feels between worlds, someone who is not who they used to be, but not yet fully who they are becoming. You may be placing this message exactly where it needs to arrive next. Press like to seal the intention. Subscribe to continue the journey. And as you go back into your day, do not rush to explain what you felt. Let it live in you. Let it breathe. Let it become one small action, then another, then another. Because this video found you today for a reason. And maybe the reason is this: you are finally ready to stop resisting the beginning.